What's up? You are now listening to Americanized, a storytelling podcast where you'll hear from eclectic first and second generation Americans share their stories and real life experiences as children of immigrants. Hey there, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Roslyn, and today I'm going to talk about how thankful I am of my opportunity to travel more parts of the world. I've always wanted a scratch map because I knew I wanted to travel the world ever since I was a kid. I was always intrigued with just the world and like how different it is across oceans, across countries, the different people, foods. I loved watching a lot of travel shows, and I just knew I wanted to explore more in that way. So a scratch map is an interactive wall poster or a print of a map of the world, and it has a top metallic foil layer that you can scratch off, like a scratch ticket. You can scratch it off with a coin, and it will reveal the countries you visited. So I always wanted one. I always wanted one as like a gift, and no one's ever gifted me a scratch map, and that's okay. I could always buy my own scratch map, but I never did. And my obsession with this item came at a time where I really wasn't traveling a lot. I might have been to maybe 2 countries, and that was it. But I was like, I'm so ambitious. I want to explore more. I know I'm going to be exploring more countries. Let me get a scratch map. But that is still pending. I still haven't really revisited my desire to have one of those, even though I really want one. But I do need to either get it as a gift, wink wink, or I just buy it myself. So yeah, I have a love for traveling. Like, some of my passions are people and places. When I went to college, I knew that studying abroad had to be a non-negotiable. I had to study abroad. I just had to. And I'm so grateful that I did. I've been saying that I feel like studying abroad kind of saved my college experience because I went to such a small school, and I feel like studying abroad kind of made my worldview a little bit bigger at that time and opened doors to more travel opportunities. And it was how I met my husband when I studied abroad, because he also studied abroad, so we got to connect in that way. Even with my love and longing for traveling and wanting to explore the world, its people and cultures, as I mentioned, I've never visited a country outside of 2 continents, Europe and Africa. And even within those, it's really limited to Côte d'Ivoire, where my family is and from, and then France, where I studied abroad. And when I went to France, I also explored Amsterdam for a day and Czech Republic for a few days. And in the past few years, Greece and Italy. And of course, Canada, but that's not in those 2 continents. So those are really the only places I visited. A few countries in Europe, and then 1 country in Africa. And so, a little limited. So when I had the opportunity to visit the Caribbean, I did. I always wanted to visit the Caribbean. And living in Boston, Boston is home to many, many, many immigrants from the islands, from the Caribbean. The more I've talked to people from the islands, the more I find myself saying, I want to visit the DR, I want to visit Jamaica, I want to visit Trinidad, Costa Rica, I really want to visit Haiti. And those are still on my list for sure, but I actually got the opportunity to visit Puerto Rico. And this was really intriguing to me. Like, the intriguing thing about this visit is that Puerto Rico is not culturally or ethnically white. Whether or not the people identify as white, that's a different thing, but essentially it's a people of color land. It's a POC land. For me, outside of visiting Côte d'Ivoire, I've never visited another POC land, I'm gonna say. This was my other opportunity to visit another country that was not ethnically or culturally white, because ethnically and culturally, Puerto Rico is Hispanic or Latino and not white. So I was reflecting on this, and I thought, it was quite fascinating to experience another place like this. And I feel like as soon as I landed, I knew this was going to be different. So I made another episode about people who clap as soon as their airplane lands in their home country. It seemed like my flight carried many passengers whose home was Puerto Rico, so when we landed, everyone clapped, and that reminded me so much of when I landed in Côte d'Ivoire. The passengers who clapped as a way to thank the pilot and also to celebrate being back home and the joy that comes with that. I'm going to compare and contrast Côte d'Ivoire to Puerto Rico just because that's the other POC land I visited. So another similar to Côte d'Ivoire was just the land, and I don't know how to explain it. I was just familiar without an explanation, and the storefronts. I don't know, it's like it was very simple, and the placement just felt familiar, just the way it was set up. It felt very familiar, and also the weather, just like that warm, hot, humid weather. Rain here and there, but sunshine. It just felt familiar. Now, I really want to talk about the kindness and the hospitality of Puerto Rico and its people. Not only is Puerto Rico a beautiful island, but the people are just so kind, welcoming, and friendly. They made me feel like I knew them, and I love that. There was an experience where there's a group of us. We wanted to go jet skiing. We were supposed to show up an hour before our scheduled time to get ready and everything. But we showed up at our scheduled time thinking we're just gonna get started and go ahead. So we missed our slot essentially. But the guy, Felix, who was helping us, so kind, super flexible, really accommodated us and helped us to get on these jet skis. We already paid for everything. We showed up, we were there, we were ready. He was so flexible. He made an arrangement for us to get on, and he was so patient with us too. And so that's like an example of how flexible and hospitable they can be. Now, I will say that these are just first impressions, and we were in the touristy areas. So maybe, just maybe, if I stayed longer or explored different areas, more rural, residential areas, maybe I would have had other experiences, but that was just my first impressions being there for a few days. I will say that is a contrast to the stereotypes and sometimes reality of how Bostonians can be rude, people say. It's funny because when I returned to Boston, I was at a train station, just trying to get back home to my apartment. And this woman working at the train station, she was just in a super good mood, and she just said good morning with a lot of enthusiasm. She was just really cheery. And I was like caught off guard because people don't usually talk to you like that in the train stations, the workers. And I was just thinking, like, does she want to tell me something more, or does she need something from me? I was just kind of like caught off guard by how happy she was. She was just so happy to say good morning, and that was so kind. Another highlight of being in a POC land is the nightlife, and if you go out to any like bars or clubs or just any night out space and there's music playing, it's the country's music. You're not hearing top 40 American music or anything like that, but it's authentic music that they'll play, like a lot of reggaeton and traditional music, dance music. Yeah, it's like you know where you are based on what they're playing in the nightlife scene. Overall, there is a lot of love in Puerto Rico, and I have a lot of love for Puerto Rico, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have gone there and just be visiting an island in the Caribbean. And let me say about the island, people always talk about the beaches and the water and everything, and the only other ocean or seawater that I've been into that was like, whoa, life-changing for me. Life-changing, a dramatic word, but absolutely unforgettable, was the Mediterranean Sea. I was swimming in the Atlantic Ocean close to the Caribbean Sea. We were at Crash Boat Beach, and the ocean there was just phenomenal. It was just so it just felt so good. That water was amazing. and I jumped off the piers that they had, and I jumped into the water, and it was just so reminiscent of when I was in Italy in Cinque Terre, and we jumped off these cliffs into the water. And that was like, I'm brave, I can do this, so I did it there, and it just felt so good. It just feels good to jump in the water and just swim in that water and be in that water. It was just such good water. I love the ocean and the water and the beach. But yeah, that is one beach I highly recommend if you ever get the chance and the opportunity to go to Puerto Rico. Without me being Puerto Rican, like just being there felt familiar. And, you know, I don't belong to that island. I'm not from that island, but I won't say that I felt like I belonged there, but things just felt familiar to me. So, question for the POC first gens out there. Have you been to another country or place outside of your home country that was not culturally or ethnically white? And if so, did that feel familiar to you even though you're not from that country? Or what was that experience like? I'm so curious to know. I would encourage you to explore the world and the people, even if it's the people in your neighborhood or your city or your town. Just be curious, walk in curiosity, and keep your heart and mind open to the people and the places in the world. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to catch you in the next episode. All original music produced by Stubborn Saul. You can find him on all listening platforms at STBRNSAL.